Welcome back, my favorite game developers, to the last video. In this one we are going to fix all of the small details related to the UI display, related to the bitcoins going from level to level, and all of the other fun stuff. So let's not waste any more time and let's get started. Okay, so now we need to fix the problem of our enemies not finding the player. We also want to make sure that we have the game manager as a singleton pattern, because we obviously want to keep our bitcoins going from level to level. So for that, I'm going to issue you a challenge, and your challenge is to find the player and find the money. So first of all, make sure that the enemies keep looking for the player until we find him. So this will need to be a while loop inside of the update in the enemy controller. That's a small hint. We want to keep our bitcoins from scene to scene. So make the game manager a singleton pattern, just like we did with the player. Make sure you do the same for the game manager. Does it appear in the hierarchy under the don't destroy? So remember, when we made a player a don't destroy, it appeared in the hierarchy under a certain tab, which is the don't destroy. Will the game manager also appear? So test it out, because we need to make sure that the game manager isn't a child of the managers. So the only way to make sure that he does not get destroyed is to make sure he is not a child of the whole manager's game object. So with that information, pause the video right now and go do the challenge. Okay, welcome back. So first thing first, we're going to go into the enemy controller. Let's scroll up to update, and an update in here, I'm going to check that while the player to chase is equal to null, we are going to go ahead and get the player to chase, or set the player to chase to be find object of type, and it's going to be the player controller, and it's going to be the dot transform, because the player to chase, as we remember, is a transform. So we access the transform after we find the object which has the player controller on him. So this should work. But as long as we're here, let's go to the, where is the game manager, scroll up, the instance, and in here I'm going to find the player controller. Any place now. Okay, so player controller, it's right here. I'm going to copy exact same code and paste it in here and remove this instance. Save that. So now we have a singleton pattern. We check if there is an instance, we destroy it. If the instance is different than null, we destroy it, and we set a new instance. We save all of that. Let's go back into our game and let's see what we need to do in here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to open up the game manager in here, and we need to remove the game manager out of here. Nope, it will not allow me. Let me see in the prefab if I already have the game managers. So manager, the game manager. So I'm going to open the managers and I'm going to remove the game manager. So this will remove the game manager from all other scenes, and I'm going to make sure that I just have the game manager in here. So no, not the managers one, sorry for that. We need the game manager only in the scene. So now we have the game manager, we have 0 bitcoins. Let's save all of that, make this just a little bit bigger. Let's run the game and let's see what happens. So we pick up the weapon, pick up the bitcoins, we get hit once. Let's go to the next level. Let's see, we go to the next level, and there we go, we are on the new level, and we can see that for some reason, do we have the enemies following? Nope, they are not following. There is something wrong. And as you can see, obviously the bitcoins and the health have not been updated, and that's because if we look on the player, if we look on the don't destroy, there we go, the game manager, the bitcoins also haven't been. So if we look on the player, you'll notice that his health is 490, but it's not being sent right here. Why? Because we only update, let me see, in the player health manager, we only update the player health once we get hit. and not when we actually start. So we'll need to fix that also. But before we do that, there is something that is not quite right with the move towards. So I'm going to pause the game right here and let's see what the problem is. So you can see that each one of our enemies is not being able to find us. So I'm going to double click, and the problem is with the player chase right here. So let's see what we're going to do about that. Okay, so I went through a couple of things and finally found the solution. So the problem in here was, and it's very simple, we just need to move this while loop up here over all of this, and we might want to extract this into some kind of method. So I'm going to call this method finding the player, or making sure we have the player. So why do we move it up here? Well, because if we try to call the moving towards, save that. So what's the whole problem in here? The whole problem and the whole thing that is causing this is when we go to a new level, before the player, which is the one that doesn't get destroyed, gets to the next level, the enemies already have a target, which was the previous player. So once we destroy him, we can no longer find him. So if we try, let's say we went into the new level, we have all the player chase set right here in the start, and then we destroy him. And then we try to chase the player or move towards the player, and that's where the error was coming from. So right here we are trying to chase the player, and once there is an error in here, nothing under this works, the update stops, everything stops. So that's why we need to be having the finding player the first thing we do an update before we continue on, while we might just need the if statement in here, I believe, but let's keep it as while just in case it takes a bit of time. So with that out of the way, if now we run the game, we should see that when we go to the next level, there we go, we have no errors. We open this up, and there we go, the cowardly enemies are running away and they are shooting at us. So with that out of the way, next thing we need to do is obviously we need to update the player UI. So I'm going to go into the UI manager. Did we stop the game? Yep, we did. So back in the UI manager, in here I'm going to create a method that is going to be the public void update player UI. And we are going to do a couple of things in here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a player health handler. The player health, call it, and it's going to be equal to null. And you'll see why in just a bit, because we are going to create a while loop that will check for the player health. And while it's null, we are going to keep looking for the player health to be equal to find object of type, and it's going to be the player health handler. And once we find it, we can exit the while loop, and then in here we are going to go ahead and first of all get the health slider dot max value, and it's going to be equal to the player health dot get max value. So obviously we need to create some kind of way to access the max health on the player health handler. What do we have in here? Okay, so they are serialized fields. Let's go ahead and create a public int get player max health, and we're just going to go ahead and return the max health. Don't we already have one of those? No, we don't. Let's go ahead and create the get player current health also, as long as we are here. So the current health. And what else do we need from here? We might need the, nope, I think that's all that we need. So now we can get max health, and then we'll need to set the health slider dot value to be equal to the player health dot get current health. Save that. What else do we need to do? We also need to find a way to update our text. So I'm going to say the, what was it called? The health text. Was it called the health text? Yep, there we go. And it's public also. Great. So scroll down here. So the health health text dot text will be equal to the player health dot get current health, and it's plus the slash, and it was the max health, so player health dot get max health. There we go. So everything is set, but I'm going to do something in here, and that's write a debug.log, and I just want to keep track of the let's say max health, and let me just get this one, and this will make sense in just a bit. So set this one in here, and you'll see why in just a bit. So I'm going to save all of that. I'm going to go back into Unity. I'm going to run the game. I'm going to pick up weapon, pick up the bitcoins, get hit, please get hit. Okay, so there we go. Go through the world, go through the portal, go to the next level, and you can see that it's 100 in here, even though if I press on the player, it's 490. So what do you think is the problem? I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to think about it. The problem was, and I'll tell you what the problem is. If first of all we need to update player health. So update player health or player UI. Now let's go ahead and test it out. Maybe you saw it in the debug. I just noticed that we didn't even call the method. So there we go, the debug works. I'm going to get hit, go through the level, go through the portal, and what's the health? So the max health is 50 and the current health is 0. What do you think is the problem? Well, the problem is, just like we said in the previous video, we already had a player in the scene and that player was destroyed. So once we want to set this health bar and the text, they are being set based on the old player. So in order to set the new player, what do you think we should do? Well, there are many solutions to this problem, but I found that the best one is to just have a simple way of converting this from a public void to a public I enumerator, and then we are going to yield return new wait for seconds, and let's just wait 0.1f, and it will be the time while the, don't forget we have a fading image that we've turned off just for the sake of speeding the process of testing out. So now what will happen is we will wait 0.1 seconds, and during that time the old player will be destroyed, the new player will be found, and we will immediately get our update. So in here, instead of update player, I'm going to start a coroutine, which is going to be the update player health UI. Save that, back into our game. We run the game. We get hit. We go out. We go through this one. And there we go. We can see that our health has been updated and it's very seamless. So there we go. We can see everything is working perfectly fine. First of all, we also have the bitcoins, so we need to fix that also in here. And what we also want to do is we want to make sure that we spawn in the proper position. So currently we spawn right next to the portal, which is not helpful. Our goal is to get to that portal and not just spawn in there. So I'm going to, first of all, in here, let's see what we need to do. So we need to, do we have the Bitcoin text, the BTC text? There we go. So BTC text dot text is equal to find, or no, we have the game manager dot instance dot get bitcoins. So there we go. I believe this one returns the bitcoins. Oh no, this adds bitcoins. So if I go to the game manager, do we have get current bitcoins? Okay, so get current bitcoins, save that, and this should be working, except for it's not, because you cannot implicitly convert the type into string. So dot to string, this converts anything to a string. Save that. Let's test this out a little bit. Run the game, and now we pick up a coin and we go to the next level. Okay, so now we should see we have in here 10. There we go. It takes a bit of time, but it will not be noticeable, especially once we have the fade image. But now we need to spawn the player at a certain point. So I'm going to go into the level manager, and I'm going to do this at the level manager. And I'm going to scroll down in here, and I'm going to create a new method. So under here, we're going to create a new method, which is a public void, and it's put player in point. And input player in point, we are going to get the player controller dot instance dot not instantiate dot instance player bullet controller. Okay, so player controller dot instance, and we're going to use the dot transform dot position, and it's going to be equal to some kind of spawn point dot position. And now I'm going to copy this and create a serialized field up here of the transform, and it's going to be the spawn point. Let's scroll down and see how that looks. Yep, there we go. So what happens in here is we put the player on the point from the start. Where is it? The start. So in here we are going to put player on point. We save all of that, and what happens in here is as soon as the level manager starts, remember it's not a don't destroy, it's not a singleton pattern, the player controller.instant.position is put immediately on the spawn point. So back in here we already have the spawn points. We are spawn points. So I'm going to create a new in here, and it's going to be player point of spawn. And where is it in the scene? Let's see, and it's going to be about here. Save that. If we go to another level, we can actually go ahead and override this. So in the manager, override, and you can choose what do you want to override. Keep in mind, we don't want to override the spawn points, because for every single level there will be a different spawn point. So I'm going to apply override the prefab managers, level manager, maybe also apply override prefab manager. There we go. And in here the player spawn points, let's go ahead and also apply the prefab to the whole prefab. Okay, great. So make sure you don't apply all, save all of that, and now we're going to run the game. And I'm going to go into a new level, and we should, nope, we didn't. That's because we, oh, okay. So the problem is here in the level manager. What's the problem in here? If we scroll up, didn't we? Yep, we did. Spawn point in the level manager. What seems to be the problem? Oh, so there we go, it's in here. We need to set it, and now we need to go to the level managers and apply the changes to so now when we run, we should see, if we go to the next level, nope, it's still not working. So what's the problem? The variable has not been assigned. So I think there is something not properly set right here. So apply to prefab level manager. And what else is the problem? So I think in the other level the spawn point isn't getting properly set. So I'm trying to apply the changes. Maybe this time it will work. Nope, it still doesn't, because if we go to the managers, level manager, player spawn point, on the level manager, it is not even set. So what do you think the problem in here is? I think we made some kind of mistake because everything in here has been reset. So you can see right here that these are not being set. So I'm going to apply all for now. This is not the best idea, but let's not worry about that for now. I'm going to go to the next level and make sure that we finally spawn on the proper point. But right now we will have also spawning in here, as you can see, but we don't want that because each level will have its own enemies, will have its own levels, waves, and so on and so forth. But as you can see, everything works. The only problem still in our game is the fact that when we go to the door, this pops up the first time, and when we open it, when we go away, it does not go. I mean, the words do not appear again and the door does not close again. Why? Because in the room that we've created, and this was a mistake by me, we turn off the door. So we turn off the door, but the text display is always on the door. So I'm going to leave this as a final challenge to you to do outside of the realm of this course. All that you'll need to do is remove this text display from the door and put it on the portal right here, and then move it right here. So the canvas will need to be not on the door, it will have to be on the portal, and you'll need to turn off the door on and off based on the text. There will be a bit of changes to the code, but I think at this point you have become such a good game developer at such a high level with all the long videos that I've taught you through. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this whole course. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed the journey and the process. I hope you weren't too angry when I made mistakes. I hope you are liking the transparency that I'm showing you. And if you haven't already, of course, leave me a review. Make sure you join the Discord. And I'll see you maybe not in the next video because this is the last one. Maybe someday in the future. We will keep in touch. No worries about that. Thank you so much for watching.